As always on CBS 21 News at 5:30, our political insiders join us tonight. Tony May on the Democratic side, Charlie Giroux on the Republican side. Guys, thanks for being here, as always.
And let's start off with this Virginia federal court ruling on Obama's health care reform. Tony, you called it a Christmas present, actually, for Tom Corbett, but actually each individual state has filed suit, right?
Well, 20 of the 50 states have joined in filing that suit. It's a Christmas present in the sense that he can say, "I told you so." It's not over yet, though. It's going to be appealed, and I'm sure it'll go all the way to the Supreme Court because it is a really key piece of legislation that affects every American. So,
Tony, you bring up a good point with that. I mean, the judge ruled it unconstitutional, but it does have to go to the Supreme Court. But they're not talking about until maybe 2012. Is it going to be too late at that point?
Well, the really horrible provisions of Obamacare don't kick in until 2014. But this is a very important legal victory for the good guys, Tanya, because a federal court is now saying for the first time that it is unconstitutional to require people to buy a product. It is going to go to the Supreme Court. There's actually serious discussion now about getting an expedited path to the Supreme Court. Ultimately, that's where it's going to be decided. My sense is that the Supreme Court of the United States will say it is unconstitutional, and there's a kicker in here. The really key component is that there is no severability clause in that original bill. Lawyer talk for if one piece falls, all the dominoes fall. No, apparently.
Well, and that's you know, Charlie, my rule of not being a lawyer, fortunately, is that when it's too difficult to explain to the average person on the street, it's probably bad law or bad judicial rulings. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this does play out, because it does affect every American, and the idea that health care is a product is also a flawed concept, and it's not Charlie's fault because he didn't do this.
Just remember Nancy Pelosi, Tony, was the one that said, pass this awful thing, and then we'll figure out what it says. So now we're figuring out, I think the courts are on the right track.
All right, we'll have to see what happens with that. Now let's move on to tax cuts. We've all been hearing about this. We spoke with people here locally who say, we just don't want any taxes raised, no matter who gets the tax cut or not.
The rich or the middle class or anything.
What's taking so long, though?
Cuts. Well, it's taking a while because we're playing a kind of American kabuki theater. Everybody has to get their chance to say their lines, to say Republicans are bad people because they want to protect the rich. The Republicans say, you know, the Democrats love taxes. And when it's all said and done, they're going to pass a bill which is a compromise that does keep taxes at the present level, doesn't raise them, doesn't lower them either.
Right.
But it also keeps money flowing for the long-term unemployed, which is a real problem in America right now.
But there's
just in time for Christmas.
The thought, Charlie, that the Democrats in the House are going to hold this up on the estate tax issue. Now, if they do that, aren't they just shooting themselves in the foot?
They are. I mean, this is not a tax cut bill at all. It is, as Tony correctly points out, a status quo, keeping tax rates where they are now. In my judgment, what the Congress really ought to do is make these tax cuts permanent so that this isn't a political football every 2 or 3 or 4 years. That would make good public policy sense and be good politics as well.
And it comes back, can I just jump in here as the liberal in the team here, that the estate tax, if you've got $5 to $10 million in assets, and that's what they would be taxing, you know, you can afford a good lawyer to figure out a way to set up trusts for your family. You shouldn't be dying and leaving that big of an estate for the government to glom on.
So the question is, are the Democrats just posturing right now in the House, saying that they're going to, you know, they might try to stop?
Well, that's what I call a kabuki theater. I think in the final analysis, you know, before Christmas, we're going to have a bill that makes most people happy for 2 years.
All right. Thank you, guys. As always, you can catch our political insiders, Tony May, Charlie Giroux, every Tuesday right here on CBS 21 News at 5:30.
And for all your statewide political news, you can tune into our political program, Face the State, every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. We hope you'll join us this Sunday. It immediately follows Face the Nation.
That's right.